What is going on, everybody? You are watching The Link, and we are so happy to see you here. We're what? A little 4 minutes behind, but that's okay. Why? Because this is live TV and things happen. But we are brought to you by APLA Health and Power Media Network. And of course, we have to give a shout out to the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, because they're the ones that give us the checks to make sure that we are able to run this beautiful show that you are experiencing right at this very
Period.
So,
I just wanted to say it. Sorry. Go ahead.
As you know, I am your favorite prevention training specialist over at Swab and Chill. My name is Daniel J. And I am here with two beautiful co-hosts. As you can see, Kai is not with us today. We wish him well. He is not feeling well. So Kai, we send you love. We hope that you are feeling better and that you get quick soon because we need you here like all the time. But we do have our other co-hosts, and of course, some of you may know them, some of you may not, but I will let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I am Ty, the outreach coordinator here at APLA Health. We do wish you well, Kai, because I don't know anything about politics, and we kind of need you for that. So, yes, I am excited to get into today's show. We have an array of topics, and then also the actual key point of today is something that I hold near and dear to my heart. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, definitely has a pulse. That's for sure. Hi, everybody. I am Dwayne Savid, your other favorite prevention training specialist. Okay? No, I'm just playing, y'all. But yeah, happy to be here. Get you salted chocolate, okay?
Come on. Because we love it. We love it.
I am here for it. And shout out to Kwame, who is our producer. You don't really see Kwame, but he is responsible for all of the wonderful transitions.
He keeps us in check.
Right, keeps us in check, the transition. So we always want to shout out to Kwame and Pyro Media Network. Let's get into what's popping. But before we do, I want to let you know that today's show, honey, we take on a deep dive into the safety of the prep techniques of being a receptive partner, a.k.a. anal sex. Ooh. Social media and OnlyFans have proven that
people dirty to me.
That people are willing to do whatever they can do as to be clean and to be prepped for sex, while also trying to be the best freak that they can possibly be while in the bedroom for their partner. But are they doing it safely? That's the question. Are they doing it safely? And today we tackle this conversation with tact and experience as we share tips and tricks on how to keep your Boochie head satisfied and safe. But before we get into that conversation, we always have to go into what's happening? What's happening in the world? What's happening in social media?
Can we dub that so that when we say what's popping, it's always Daniel saying it?
I don't know. I think we should always say it together.
That is literally epic.
What's popping?
What's popping in my Kai voice?
We're not from the valley. God bless. So our first thing on on discussion, of course, it's been on all of our social media platforms. We've seen what the baby had to say on stage, the disparaging remarks that he had to make in regards to HIV, women's vaginas, and of course the correlation to deviancy between with the LGBTQIA plus community. But just a few days ago, his publicist issued an apology, which to me was really an apology. And the community is still dragging him for this apology because they feel like it's not sincere, they feel like it's too late, and they feel like he did not take any accountability. So I want to ask my wonderful co-host, what are your thoughts about the apology specifically? Like, I don't want to get too much into what was said because we already know what was said. But what do you think about the apology?
Well,
you go first.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, his publicist should have did that first instead of like telling him, yeah, go on live and say a few words about like how sorry you are and how apologetic you are, because they should have known. Like, do you not know who you're working for? Obviously not, I guess. Probably but not. Like, well, my co-host Daniel said it's an apology.
Yes.
I don't even think he wrote it. And
he did not.
It was spelled correctly.
Yes.
And he could have just saved
slang
with the proper enunciation.
Could have saved it. You said what you said. You doubled down on it the next day. And then a week later, you want to have your publicist issue it.
Yeah, I think that was the highlight of it for me. I was really just like, at the end of the day, like reading it, knowing that he did not write it or have anything to do with it, and then all of this stuff falling down around you. Your bag is getting affected by your comments at this point. And, beforehand, I would have been like, people do deserve to learn in certain situations. But when you double down on that and turn it into, I said what I said, and I am the moment. So when I say something like this, either you rock with it or you don't. Well, the world did not. So now the baby fumbled the bag. So now at the end of the day, your publicist releasing something that was auto spelled correctly and all that other stuff. I was more so focused on the fact that the enunciation was correct as opposed to, you know, who wrote it and who didn't. I read that and I was like, oh, so someone went to school. It was interesting. But I still don't accept the apology. You losing a bag.
I'm going to make some people very, very mad because there's a lot of on my social media. I've gotten a lot of people who have asked the question like, he's apologized. How come we can't forgive him and move on? Well,
we do that.
I have it on very good authority with people that work closely with DaBaby and his team that DaBaby was actually against this public apology. He did not want to issue this apology. He argued with his team, and his exact words, and I quote, were, "I don't give a blank. I said what I said. Why should I have to apologize for that?" So knowing that from people in his camp even further exacerbates the fact that this apology is so whack and insincere, and we're just not here for it. And at the end of the day, everyone has the freedom of speech, but you also have to take consequences and reap the consequences of that speech that you have, of that freedom that you have. Yeah. And at the end of the day, DaBaby, what you had to say was disparaging. It offended a lot of different communities. It was just ill-informed.
Yeah.
And
you know what I dislike the most? I dislike seeing the comments from cis-het people saying that DaBaby is being bullied or by the gays or whatever the case may be.
The gay agenda.
The gay agenda. And I know when we roll deep. I do know this, right? Right. No, actually, sir, it's definitely his PR person. But yeah, we roll deep. And at this point in 2021, being ill-informed in a position of power like DaBaby was in is unacceptable at this point. So we're not bullying anybody. I don't think that standing up for misinformation in regards to an epidemic that killed a lot of people with no support because it was deemed as a moral disease. I don't believe that that's bullying you. I believe that that's holding your feet to the fire and your feet are getting crispy. At the end of the day, it's not. I don't like cis-het people kind of coming into this conversation, making it seem like the gays are overreacting. You don't live that experience. So stay in your lane, sis.
I will echo that in regards to non-Black folks. This is
a
Black artist.
I would agree with that
Black
too.
People allow us to handle our own. But we're not going to spend too much time on DaBaby because he's had enough shine. We're going to move on to our next topic.
Yeah.
Interesting topic. Frontier Airlines, honey. A few of their flight attendants have been relieved of duty, I believe, without pay because they duct taped a passenger to their seat after this passenger literally went off on other passengers, swung on some of the flight attendants, and was causing a muck on this flight. And they decided, hey, we're going to duct tape him to the chair because he's causing a ruckus. Now, this may sound familiar because a few weeks ago, we heard that another airline, American Airlines, duct taped one of their passengers to the seat because that passenger had a breakdown in midair and tried to open up the safety hatch while in flight. But apparently, Frontier believes that duct taping a passenger to their seat goes beyond what flight attendants should do. They took it too far. And so how do you feel about that? Do you feel like these flight attendants were justified in doing what they did? And do you feel like they should have been relieved of duty? So
I fly a lot. And when I fly, it's always different distances. And I know that there's always people getting on the plane that are not suitable to fly. I don't think a lot of people are fit to fly. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. You get people that get on planes that have like these emotional breakdowns and stuff. Girl, you knew you was getting on a plane. In regards to this situation, as someone, I don't mean to my own horror, as someone that sits in first class a lot, I don't even like people coming up there to use my bathroom. Toot. I don't even like people coming up there to use my bathroom. It gives me anxiety. So if a unruly passenger is, and y'all can make all the faces y'all want, if an unruly passenger gets on the plane and wants to open the hatch or fight people or this, that, and the third, chain her. Yes, lock her up because we're not stopping this flight. I'm trying to get to Miami.
Okay, I'm with you, Ty. I would have been like, so y'all wanted them to knock him out, huh? Because what was the other option? Like, he's literally attacking your workers. What are they supposed to do?
Absolutely.
And where was don't they have like airline police or something?
I don't think they do that anymore.
And that's the thing that I was always told. I was always told that there's always a plainclothes cop on every flight. For security reasons.
Right. I don't think they do that anymore.
Well, whether they did it before, whether they don't do it now, I think that this is proof that when you don't have someone who's qualified in position to handle these sort of things while in air, you kind of leave it up to the flight attendants to do
Yeah.
what they have to do. I mean, do I, you know, and of course the woman that was trying to open a flight hatch, that's a security risk for everybody on the flight.
Yeah.
Duct tape up.
This
In
was
this
trying to kill
regard,
us.
in this regard though, with the man who was going off and, you know, trying to fight folks or whatever, it's a similar situation. Like, you're putting other people in danger while on a flight.
Yeah.
You know, and so what other option do you leave them
Exactly.
to de-escalate that situation?
Did they mention when in flight this happened? Because if they just took off, I could definitely see them turning around and landing and arresting him. But if we're almost to the destination, y'all better duct tape her before I do.
And
That's
get this, y'all. So the flight attendants get swung on, and they're the ones who get put on a temporary leave until they figure out whether they're going to permanently terminate them or not.
Is the passenger banned from any airline?
I don't know any of that information. From the article that I read, the only information that was given was that the flight attendants were relieved of duty. The gentleman was arrested. He was arrested for causing a ruckus on the flight. But I personally don't believe that the flight attendant should have to reap that particular consequence. Now, if they're just saying we're just gonna suspend you, but we still gonna pay you just because we need these optics to look like we're taking this seriously. Okay, I understand that. But from what I understand, they're being relieved of duty without pay until this investigation is over.
Are we not still sensitive of situations that go on in the air? Like, I'm thinking of all the other passengers that might have been nervous during the process of that. And I'm not even talking about shorty that was trying to open the latch, because had she opened it, I would have kicked her out and closed it. But because you're the only one that want to be in the sky, babe, so you go ahead and do that. But this other passenger, one, how did they subdue him enough to duct tape him to the seat? One, but then also two, like, are there any accounts of people that were on the plane, like how scared they were? Because I know people, like my family's still afraid to fly just based off of 9/11 and all that other stuff. Like, are there any accounts as it pertains to people that were on the plane?
Not that I've seen.
Okay, we need to do a little bit more investigation on this
story.
Yeah, because they need to be paid. Y'all are heroes.
I know that you guys also have some things that you want to talk about. Tyler, start with you. I know you got some news about some new music.
Yes, on a little bit of a lighter note, we're not in the sky trying to kill each other. On a little bit of a lighter note, The Weeknd announced a new single for this weekend, this Friday, no pun intended, which is very interesting given the fact that his album After Hours did very, very well and was snubbed by the Grammys. And we actually talked about this on the show as it pertains to the Grammy nomination process and all that other stuff. Moving forward, the Weeknd said that he would not be releasing his music for Grammy consideration. So it's taking kind of the authority away from the Grammys, only because he is a big artist. And then Kanye West, long awaited, not by me, Donda releases this Friday after he teased it at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium to a sold-out crowd an hour and a half late for an album that he's been working on for about 2 or 3 years at this point, and now it's coming out this Friday, which pushes other releases back as well. What I'm noticing, and the reason why I wanted to bring this up, because I didn't know this, and Daniel, you can probably attest to this because you are a musician, and so could Dwayne since he's a dancer. You know, I didn't know that artists kind of taking consideration the number one spot. So with Kanye releasing this Friday, it's forced Drake to push his surprise release back that everybody knows about because it's not a surprise anymore. But are we taking in consideration people because we want them to go number one? Or are we taking in consideration people's releases because we genuinely want them to have their moment? What do y'all think?
Well, I know for a fact that it has nothing to do with wanting someone to genuinely have their moment, and it usually has everything to do with money. Okay. Because if they're under a label, if they have representation, then those labels make the decisions. You know, the artist doesn't really have control over release things and of that nature. So if Kanye's people are willing to spend more money to make sure that that song gets played and that song gets more representation, sometimes that can hurt someone else's single or album who's coming out at the same time. Yeah. Versus if I just push it back, then okay, you guys are happy, you have your moment, and then when I come out, I can have my moment. But if I try to fight you on that, money gets thrown around, certain stations or streams or whatever have you, get money thrown at them so that they can play Kanye over Drake or Drake over Kanye. So it becomes a real heavy money battle. And that's really what it is.
I don't see Kanye. I know, yeah, but really quickly, I can't see Kanye's music getting played a lot anymore just because now he's blending cursing with his version of gospel music, and I'm all for people's creativity, but stick to the basics. Also, Lizzo announced that she will be releasing new music this Friday as well, so we're about to go into another Lizzo season.
It's been 2 years since
it's been 2 years, yes. And remember, Lizzo had the radios on lock.
She did,
and she won a Grammy.
Yeah,
she won a Grammy too. So yeah, I am very excited to see what Lizzo has next. I am very excited to see what Silk Sonic does. They released a new single finally because Leave the Door Open was starting to, become too repetitive for me. I would hear it every other day. And then also still looking forward to SZA and Summer Walker, the Whisper Singers. Still looking forward to SZA singing in cursive and me not understanding what she says. Daniel, what is your review of the Cynthia Erivo concert?
Oh my God. So I went to go see Cynthia Erivo last Friday. She was at the Hollywood Bowl. I saw Lettucey the week prior to that. And both of them were absolutely amazing. Cynthia Erivo did not sing one or two of the songs that I needed her to sing. I wanted her to sing I'm Here from The Color Purple because, hello, staple. And I wanted her to sing Stand Up from the Harriet Tubman movie because, hello, powerful song. And staple, she didn't do either one of those. So I was a little disappointed, okay? I left the concert feeling not fulfilled. But she murdered what she did. She sang songs from Aretha Franklin to Mary J. Blige to Barbara Streisand. The arrangements were great. The LA Philharmonic was absolutely beautiful and amazing. She sang 3 songs from her up-and-coming album, which I believe is supposed to be out sometime in September. Nice. It was just a really, really great moment. She sang a song by Nina Simone called Ne me quitte pas. And Ne me quitte pas is one of my favorite songs from Nina Simone.
It's so good.
Because it's sung all in French. But I will say this. Lettucey's concert was a tribute to Nina. And Lettucey also sang Ne me quitte pas.
Oh, who did it better?
Oh, that's a good question.
Lettucey lived that song in such a way.
Lettucey's amazing.
Cynthia Erivo's performance of it was classic. It was elegant. Mm-hmm. It was regal, and it was beautiful. But Lettucey made you feel.
I was gonna say, is there a but?
Lettucey made you. Lettucey murdered that song.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think was smart of Lettucey that Cynthia Erivo did not do. Cynthia Erivo sang it the same way that Nina did. Completely in French. Mm-hmm. Lettucey sang the first verse in French, and then the rest of the song she translated into English, so people understood what the song is about. And I don't think a lot of people have ever taken the time to really know what that song is about. Mm-hmm. But it is a very emotional song. Yeah. So I have to give that song to Lettucey, hands down. She murdered it.
I'll have to take a listen to that song because when you said it the first time, I thought you called me a name.
No me quitte pas.
Don't call me it again.
Yeah, like who is doing songs in French?
It means don't you leave me.
Oh, well, when you put it like that, I'm kidding.
So that's what it translates to. Don't leave. Don't leave me. But that is it for our What's Poppin' segment of the show. We're gonna go right into our main segment, which is Boochie Cat Safety, honey.
Ooh.
So we've been having conversations here in the office about the Boochie Cat. Okay, we've been talking about bottom safety, stigmas with bottoms and things of that nature. And so for our first segment, I want to kind of dive into this conversation about Boochie Cat myths and legends. And my first question that I want to kind of open up to both of you is this. What are some of the myths that we have heard about being a receptive partner, being a bottom? Like, what are some of the things that you've heard where you're like, well, that's not true? Or who said that?
Right.
Very Portia Williams.
Right. Who said that?
Who said that?
You need to put that across the screen. The number one thing is always, that bottoms are feminine, which wouldn't be a bad thing, but that all bottoms are feminine or all bottoms are submissive because of their sexual role, or all bottoms. I've heard also that bottoms are messy, that we link up and talk about the penis. And that might be true in certain circumstances, situations. That's just all that means. Yeah, but don't tops talk about us too. I mean, well, at least me. Don't tops talk about, the bottoms as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so different things as it pertains. Like, I've always seen people associate bottoming with, I don't want to say feminine more aspects of it, but more so like that one person's like the woman in the situation. Right. Like, and it's like the last time I checked and I looked down, it wasn't the case. So it's a very interesting dynamic that the top is the dominant one in bed, and that ain't true.
I like what Sir Collins have to say. Is he said one of the myths is that they're soft and submissive.
Yeah,
and this is definitely true. I feel like there are a lot of bottoms out there that, I mean, let's just be real. Back in the day,
yeah,
the heteronormativity of things was super, super strong.
Yeah,
you know, being gay alone in itself was not as open and as, you know, ready to wear as it is today.
Mm-hmm.
You were in the closet, you was in the clubs, you know. It wasn't ready to wear, okay?
Right,
you had to sneak out and do your thing.
Yes.
But a lot of the men who were engaging in sexual acts kind of was part of this heteronormativity, where it was like, if you were a top, if you were the penetrative partner, you were the man. If you were the receptive partner, you were the woman.
And you had to get dinner paid for you.
Yes.
You don't work. You don't work.
Now
you just show up.
Christian woman.
Yeah, you just show up and he wipes you, and then you stay at home and you cook and you clean and you chase him.
And I drive you there. When I need to go to the
grocery
store.
Right.
But I think that as people evolve, as we all should, I think a lot of those heteronormatives started to dissipate and started to change. You know, especially when people started to really embrace their versatility. You know,
shout out to the verses.
Shout out to the verse and flip flop in the bedroom, and it's like, you know, I can take it, but I can give it to.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think one of the biggest misconceptions with bottoming or being a receptive partner is the stigma about being a whore, being a hoe. That if you're a bottom who has a lot of sex, then you're automatically labeled as this hoish individual, which is very similar to women who have a lot of sex versus men who have a lot of sex. Mm-hmm. Again, bringing into the conversation this heteronormative toxicity and judgment and shame. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if I'm a bottom who has a lot of sex and I'm a top who has a lot of sex, we both having a lot of sex. Mm-hmm. Why does it me being receptive have me being a hoe? Why do I have to be a slut or be shamed because I'm taking it versus you doing it with 150 people and you just giving it?
Okay, and on top of that, why is you in my Boochie's business? Why is you in my Boochie's business?
My Boochie ain't said nothing to you.
Okay.
My Boochie got to
it sure did. It actually dried up. It said, ooh.
Oh no. No, that's a good point, Dwayne, too. And then also, like, I've noticed that, like, nowadays everybody, your sexual preference is your sexual preference, but don't lie about being versed. Like, if you like bottoming more and that's like your thing, and you're just like, right, and you're just like, I want to top because he wants a verse, do what's comfortable for you. Don't feel like you have to be like performative for sexual pleasure. Just be upfront about it. Like, I don't like topping. It's too much pressure.
Can we bring up Sir Collins' comment though? He said, I had some bottoms knock me down and take the D. I felt violated.
Oh, well, some of us are
because
aggressive.
Bottoms can be aggressive.
Yeah, some of us are aggressive.
We can be very dominant in the bedroom.
I want it.
Be a little bit more submissive.
I like the aggressive bottom.
Oh, do you, Dwayne? Tell us more.
I do. You know, ain't nothing wrong with a little
there we go.
A little fight in the bedroom.
There we go.
I don't want nobody that's just gonna be like,
you don't want to kill a princess.
No. I need some action. Otherwise, I'm bored. Like, why is you here? Like,
why'd you here?
So part of this, the reason why we're having the Boochie Cat Safety conversation is because, again, we want to not only destigmatize the part of being a receptive partner, but we also want to get into some of the things that we've seen, that we've heard people do as bottoms, that we've heard
people have brought it up to us.
You know, that they brought it up to us. And one of the things that is always talked about is this issue of douching. Being a bottom, we know that if you're going to take some D, you got to be, well, you don't have to be if you're into wham, wet, and messy kind of play. Stay tuned for the 17th. Stay tuned on the 17th. Okay. We'll talk about those kinks and those fetishes.
Okay, too.
But for those who do not participate in wham activity, you know, there's this thing where you got to be clean. You know, you got to make sure you're ready to receive the D. Mm-hmm. But I have heard of some very unsafe douching processes. Mm-hmm. You know, and most of us know when you are 13, 14, 15, trying to douche for the first time, you don't know anything. So you go and you get that flea bottle, that enema, and then
you use that solution.
saline, that saline solution,
Uh-huh.
and then it feels like 100 cats is trying to scratch your belly out
Yeah.
from the inside. What are some healthy douching tips that we can give to our viewers about safely douching? Like, what are some things that they shouldn't do? What are some things that they should do?
As the biggest bottom in the office, I
feel like we might be tied.
I think I might be a bigger bottom than you. As the biggest,
so you top more than I do. So
girl, don't even put that on me like that. You gonna get people to run? They're gonna be hitting me up. Hey, can you say no? No, I cannot. Too much pressure. It'd be the best 5 seconds of your life. As one of the biggest bottoms in the office, I hate when people feel like they have to go the gusto to douche. Like, you are not cleaning out your chest. Okay, do not go the gusto to clean out your chest. But the water is it's like this light brown color. If there's no matter in it, please stop. Because it's 9 times out of 10 for that 30 minutes of pleasure, all of that hours of douching and douching and douching, you're really just making your anal lining more acceptable to tears and rips. You're pushing, and then you can also give yourself a hemorrhoid trying to get in a space where you feel complete and empty. And then also another thing really quickly before we go forward, because I've been thinking about this all day. So the empty feeling is what you make it. Sometimes people will douche and feel like, I still feel full, but nothing's coming out. It's because your stomach lining is trying to go back to the way that it was. So there's some rumbling down there. It's trying to readjust after you've literally put several water balloons inside of you
or stuck a water hose up
water hose up there. Yeah. And then also speaking of that portion of it, do not rush. If he texts you and say, I'm down the street, I'll be there in 5 minutes, that's on him.
Period, boo.
That's on him.
Period.
I am not going to try to get 6 fleets in before he gets there in 5 minutes. That is damaging to my body. We ain't even got to do it that day.
I'm a little toxic.
Here we go. Here we go.
Top, so
Dwayne is our resident first.
He is. Or a resident top.
Barely.
Oh, yeah,
I'm in a relationship right now that has
shout out to your babe.
Garnered the versatility.
Okay. We like that.
But since it's on me, I would say don't use cold water. Please use warm water. Please use some
not cold, not hot.
Yeah, please don't use cold water because cold water just makes it worse. That's why you get that little cramping feeling and stuff, and that's just not cute. And then it takes longer, and then you sitting there wondering why is it stopping?
Right. Right.
So
what do you think?
These are 2 things not to do.
Okay.
Number 1. If you're going to buy an enema, please do not use the solution that comes in an enema.
Never.
Okay, empty that.
It's not made for your butt.
Never use it. If you do, I promise you it's going to be painful.
Yes.
Number 2, make sure that you are using proper douching tools, i.e. you're using a bulb, you're using an enema bottle. Even if you're using a hot water bottle with the hose, going old school. The top end of a 20-ounce Coke bottle is not what you should be using.
Oh, girl.
I know that's real gutter, real easy for those, we didn't know about going to get the food at CVS.
Definitely Oz.
Okay. The reason being is because, again, the top of a bottle like that is usually it has ridges on it.
Okay.
Sometimes it can be serrated depending on what type it is. And so it literally can cut the inside of your anus. That's number 1. So you want to make sure that the tools that you're using are proper receptacles or proper tools that can be inserted into your rectum. That's number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2.
Good number 1.
Number 2.
Shout out to the Get Right.
Number 2, which is so super important to me. Be very careful about how many times you are flushing your system. As Ty mentioned earlier, the more that you irrigate your rectum and eventually your colon, it does dry out the lining of your rectum, which causes more tearing, it causes more damage. It can also cause damage whether you have sex or not. So my recommendation, I'm going to give you a natural way to do it to make sure that you don't dry your system out. Put a little bit of honey in your douche water.
Drop it on them.
Honey is a natural antioxidant, but it's also a natural lubricant, which is why singers use it to coat their vocal cords because the vibrations of the vocal cords rub together, and that can also cause friction.
Child, let me write this down.
Okay. So if you put some honey in warm water, shake it up, and use that to douche, not only will you douche in a way where it won't dry out your lining, but you won't have to irrigate as often.
Yeah.
When you do it. So those are my.
Can I add to that too?
Sure.
Okay, so if you are I call them expressive bottoms. If you are expressive bottom where you enjoy sex a lot, definitely take in a fiber supplement. Pure for Men, psyllium husks, things that you can take before you go to bed to make your stool softer. It's going to make you go anyway. So cleaning is going to kind of be a doozy at that point. Pure for Men, what happens is you take your fiber pills, they expand, it sops up like a sponge, all that stuff that's in your gut. And kind of, I think Dwayne might actually have
Don't
some.
show that bottle, honey.
I'm not going to show them the bottle.
And then it
Okay.
comes down your chute. And then you don't have to force it out. But then when you clean, there you go. Look at that. Yes, there we go. Take your fiber supplements. Yes, take your fiber supplements.
Just know that
make it easy for you.
If you are taking Pure for Men specifically, you have to drink a lot of water.
A lot of water.
You have to drink a lot of water. Now, if you can't afford Pure for Men, there are definitely easy ways to up your fiber. One of them is eating a lot of oatmeal.
But they also have like fiber supplements. And sorry, Daniel, I didn't mean to cut you off. But they also have like literally fiber supplements at the 99-cent store.
You got a point. They are at the 99. They are at the 99.
Yeah, they have about 25 capsules, and
they're non-brand, but they work just the same.
It's just it's like if you were to get a generic prescription.
But like Daniel said too, to that point too, like Daniel said, drink a lot of water. Especially if you take it before you go to bed. But then when you get up, drink another bottle of water. I guarantee you'll start going.
Okay.
But we're going to continue this conversation when we come back after our commercial break. But I do want to put this question out there so that you guys are thinking about it during the commercial break. The question that I want to come back with is, how much pain should a receptive partner have to endure during sex? So hold on to your answers. Think about that. We will be right back after this wonderful Bob and Joe commercial to let you know how you can get an at-home HIV testing kit.
Come swab and chill with us.
Come swab and chill with us.
It's a Friday. Now look.
So this week, I want to talk.
You are here on the link. That's right.
You mamas, greetings. It is
We're going to take a trip down Batty Boulevard and bring you.
Is there such a thing as acting too black?
These are your gorgeous earrings that come with the set. So
Are you in need of a quick and easy way to know your HIV status? Swab and Chill is a discreet way to learn your status in the comfort of your own home. The process gives you results in 20 minutes. Swab the upper gums, swab the lower gums, and voila! Simply follow the colorful step-by-step instructions located inside the kit. Or call APLA and we can assist you virtually. In addition, all kits include condoms and lube for that penetrative fun. For our trans clients, we have Swab and Chill Plus, a customizable kit for trans-specific needs. And we haven't forgotten about COVID either. All kits include personal protection gear, like face masks, comfortable yet stylish. A personal touch tool for dealing with those germ-infested handles and ATM keypads. Wet wipes for those little messes that need cleaning up. Also, keep that summer body protected with Swab and Chill sunscreen. And don't forget about our fanny packs for those quick trips to the store. All this can be yours. Simply call Swab and Chill at 323-329-9713 or email us at swabandchill@apla.org. We would love for you to be part of our Swab and Chill family.
Swab and chill with us. What's going on? I don't know what y'all heard.
Yeah,
I don't know what y'all heard. On this side of the line, man.
we need an after dark.
We need an
Okay.
after dark. Okay, but we are back. You are watching The Link. Here I am Daniel. You are watching Ty right in the middle, and of course Dwayne over at the other end. Again, we miss you, Kai. We hope that you're feeling better.
We hope that you are watching.
Right.
Yes, our
We're getting into this second part of our conversation. Boochie cat safety. We've been talking about stigmas about the Boochie cat. We've been talking about safety tips and tricks on how to dish properly to make sure that you are not drying out your lining, that you're not putting yourself at a risk for tears and things of that nature. And the question that I posed before we went to commercial break was, how much pain should a receptive partner have to endure? Now, let me preface this question. I know a lot of bottoms who feel like in order to be a top tier platinum bottom, you have to take whatever your top has. And that includes bearing the pain if it's too big or too girthy or what have you. And they don't feel right telling their top to stop. So my question, and I want to start with Dwayne.
Please do.
How much pain should a bottom have to endure?
Sigh.
I feel attacked as the top currently versus top. But I'm not. I would be lying if I said that I wasn't impressed and or like very pleased by the bottoms who can just like, take the whole thing as long as I can go.
Yes.
Like I mean personally, I love I love to make the bottom tap out. So I mean that is.
But why is this a competition? Why?
It's not.
Why is this a 3-ring like boxing match? Like
not,
who's gonna tap out first?
No. It's not that. It's just like
explain what it is, because it sounds real like harmful to the body.
Without giving like too much information into my bedroom on this platform that we work for.
Good girl. Good girl. Your DMs will be flooded.
I know how to constantly find the spot, so I just like to keep hitting it and hitting it and hitting it and hitting it, and I feel like I'm not doing my job right if I'm not doing it. And that's not to say that I'm hounding, no, because you don't always have to be like boom boom boom,
but you can feel it as a top when you do
right. Exactly. Because
so again, to my question, how much pain?
Well, how much do you like, baby? That's the question.
That's a good answer, Daniel. That's his
endure?
Answer. That's a good answer.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it should be to the bottom standard. Like I'm very also, like I said, I like an aggressive bottom. So I like you to talk to me too. Like I definitely check in, but also like let me know like faster, slower. Right there.
If it's not comfortable.
Right, let's switch. Hold my leg.
Hold my leg.
Like all that. So
okay, Tom, what about you? How much pain should a bottom have to endure during sex?
None. I kind of feel like, and I agree with what Dwayne is saying too from his standpoint. I think that it's up to the bottom to kind of associate that, because some bottoms find pleasure in that small amount of pain, that pressure that goes on back there during anal sex. I know my limits, and I know what I can take and what I can't take. I've tried to go the gusto and take some things that might not be, in my best interest to my anatomy, and I've done it like a champ. But then afterwards, I'm like, I'm never doing that again. So, I think that it's more so like Dwayne was mentioning, communication is important, right? Because if you're checking in and are you comfortable? Are you not comfortable? Is there anything that we can do position wise that'll make you more comfortable. Some people like it from the back, some people like it missionary, some people like it on the side. I'm noticing that when you get it on your side, it's a little easier to take, in my case.
Oh, the little cuddle?
Yeah, the little cuddle thing. It's a little easier to take when you do it that way. And I'm not trying to tell anybody how to have sex, but I know that for bottoms that are dating whomever or having sexual relations with people who are well endowed, definitely do what works for you, because you really don't have to take all of it for both of you to get pleasure. So kind of communicate with your top and kind of have a conversation about, what pleasure looks like to the both of you. Are there any other things that y'all can do that can kind of get him there and get you there, so that you're not like, messing up your guts. Like, you want to make sure that you are, comfortable in the entire process. So a bottom shouldn't really have to take a lot of pain unless you like it. I don't mind it.
Right. And that's what I was basically saying. But what do you mean you can't take, most times you shouldn't have need to take the whole thing?
I mean, I did it in that moment because it was the heat of the moment. Then afterwards, the next day, I'm like, yeah.
So what's not the whole thing? Like 75%?
I mean, 75%. I mean, it just depends on the stroke. I mean, you can literally, you can literally come up with some suggestions and solutions. Like, the whole thing don't got to go all the way in there for you to get your rocks off. Like, you can definitely maneuver that. Like, communication, important.
Let me answer Dwayne's question. In addition,
Dwayne had a question?
Because he said, well, what do you mean? Like, not take the whole thing. First of all, I want to say that most people have been conditioned about sex and pleasure based on what they've seen in porn. And they're trying to imitate that, and they've conditioned
life ain't Pornhub.
They've really conditioned their bodies to get accustomed to that. So when we look at the penis, the most nerve endings for pleasure, the things that often get excited, are at the very tip of the penis. Mm-hmm. They're not in the shaft. They're not in the penis. So for the tops who feel like I have to get it all the way in for me to get pleasure, you actually scientifically, anatomically, you don't. Mm-hmm. But the reason why you feel that way is because the look of seeing the whole thing go in is enticing to you based on what you've been accustomed to and conditioned to, based on what you've seen, i.e. porn. I don't feel like a bottom should ever have to go through pain unless pain is pleasure to you. Like, if you're a part of the BDSM community, or if you like, some really heavy kink fetish type of things where sadomasochism is just your thing, that's how you get down, great. But on a general level, for people who are not a part of that community, if it's painful, you're probably doing harm to your body. Mm-hmm. And as a bottom, you need to have autonomy over your body and be able to tell your top or whomever you're having sex with, yo, that hurts. Calm down, slow down.
Jackrabbit. But yeah, also identifying what pain is in that aspect of it. Like, because, initial intercourse is different. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, nothing was there initially. So you are going to feel something that's a little uncomfortable in the beginning. But like Daniel mentioned and how Dwayne alluded to, if it's super duper painful, if it's like one of those things where you feel like this is not pleasuring me, communicate that during sex. You can do that. That's not an issue.
And I just feel like at the end of the day, like when you are bottoming, you really do have to take ownership of your body. Like, you really have to take ownership of someone is inserting something into you
that wasn't there beforehand. And so, unless it was,
I've come to the conclusion in my own life, I don't let anyone do anything to my body that is uncomfortable. If it hurts, if it's painful, I'm going to tell you to stop.
Do you get spanked?
Period. I like to get spanked.
That's painful.
But it's not painful to me. My threshold for pain is very high.
Yeah.
So you're speaking from someone with a very high threshold, and you're having these conversations. That's very impressive, Daniel. Honestly.
I have a very high threshold for pain.
Yeah, me too.
But when it's painful, because even like I had an individual who he had a thing for like sucking on nipples, but he would suck them really aggressive.
Like bite them?
Like, yes. And so I had to say, no, stop, don't do that. But he was like, well, that's the only way that I can, like, I like it that way. Well, then you need to go find somebody else. It's not my job. Especially not for some random hookup. It's not my job to fulfill your fantasy. Yeah. Especially if you're not paying me to fulfill your fantasy. Shout out to my sex workers out there making a deal.
Hey, y'all.
Okay. If you are not paying me to fulfill a fantasy, it is not my job to fulfill your fantasy. And I really want for more bottoms to understand that you have more control and power over your body than you
we
may
are
think
really
you do in the
in
moment.
charge.
But I do want to move this conversation forward. And the next question that I have is, why do you guys think that there's so much bottom shaming stigma within specifically the Black gay community? And Ty, I want to start with you.
Well, I read somewhere that no, I don't want to call it, because that back then I don't think it was considered bottoming, but as it pertains to like slave days, I read somewhere that white men would do that to the head of the household, to embarrass them, demasculize them, and all that other stuff. And I think that those practices not practices, but those stories kind of pass on from generation to generation. So if you are the receptive partner, you're automatically looked at. You like that stuff? Like that type of thing. I know when I came out and told my grandma and my mom, you know what I do. The first thing was, and you like that? Yes. It's one of those type of things. So I think it just depends. It's a more submissive, ideally in people's minds, it's more of a submissive role. So people are kind of just like, so you are, it's the act of accommodation. You are literally accommodating somebody else inside of you, and people associate that with submissiveness. So it's more so that aspect of it, in my opinion, where, you get those stories from back in the day, long time ago, when people would try to embarrass or demasculinize men. And then you hear about it in prison too, right? You're going to go to prison and be somebody's B word.
Don't drop the soap.
Don't drop the soap. You hear all of these things because whomever experienced that and shared that experience did not do it in a healthy and enjoyable way. There's pain associated with people not knowing how to bottom one, but then also not knowing how to have sex with a bottom. You know what I mean? Right. So there are generational ideas as to what bottoming is, especially with women. Like sometimes cisgender women will sit there and be like, well, you're doing what, you think that we do, or we were the originator, we're supposed to be doing. And it's like, girl, we're doing two completely different things. I wish I was doing what you was doing. It would be a lot more pleasurable, in my opinion.
Right. So to wrap up, just your thought on that.
Yeah.
My second part of the question is, how do you think that we can change or stop the shaming stigma for receptive partners? How do we get to a place where we're not shaming bottoms?
So that's a tough question to answer, because everybody's in a different space as it pertains to their sexual activity, right? Like you see the three of us on this show talking about our sexual position so openly and so freely, right? We got to that space after a while. It's not something that just happened overnight. Bottoms versus tops, whomever, should not be ashamed of what they find pleasure in, again, as long as it's not harming anybody and as long as it's consensual. We always want to bring that up. But then also too, it's not something that you can let other people put a narrative on. What I do should not concern, and what I do in my bedroom should not concern someone who has an idea as to what that is. I don't have to explain to you why I find that pleasurable, because I'm not doing it with you. So if we could live in a space where our sexual lives, I'm okay with us talking about it. We talk about it on this platform. If we can live in a space where our sexual lives are our power, and if you can talk about it, you can back it up, no pun intended, then stand by that. I think that's how we combat stigma. Not everybody wants to admit that they're a bottom. You know what I mean? Like not everybody, I'm a bottom, and I can't say it on here, but I'm bottom. Don't worry about it. So I don't feel like it has anything to do with anybody else,
Dwayne, what about you? Same two questions. The first part of the question is, why do you feel like there's such a shaming stigma for people who bottom?
Well, I feel like just tying into what Ty was saying, I would just basically say I think it ties into the emasculation of men, and also kind of the disrespect that men have towards women.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned earlier, bottoms have been in the past equated to the woman.
Yeah.
Dang, I can't find my screen today. The woman. So,
girl. Over here. Okay. My anger.
Right.
Where's my shot at?
So oftentimes, like, a lot of people equate that to like a loss of power, a loss of respect, as we see plainly in the media with the woman, and especially the Black woman. So I think that's what really it ties into, not necessarily the act itself, but like, oh, you were. It's
right.
Like, beep here.
Right. You're right.
And so my second part of the question to you is, how do you think that we can move forward to stopping that part that stigma? How do we get to a place where we're no longer shaming people for being a bottom?
Honestly, what Ty said again, like people being open about being a bottom, because in my day, a lot of people started off talking to me thinking that they was gonna be all up in my Boochie because of how I present myself, how I speak, and like for those of you who aren't very familiar with my social media, I'm a dancer and also dancing heels. So just all that combined, they're just thinking that really I'm gonna bust him down, and then. An hour or two later, I'm doing the bending, okay?
And then they look at me differently, like I'm some sort of like power top that's like 5'6". Girl, really? Come on.
And he's only 5'4".
I'm 5'6".
I definitely think that the historical trauma of slave master, dynamics play into why we bottom shame. But I think that what happens with, specifically in the Black gay community, is, again, it's the adoption and the indoctrination of heteronormativity. Mm-hmm. And so bottoming has been associated to being a woman. Of course, that's associated to the feminization and the vulnerability. And all of those things have been looked at as a negative, which really talks to the internal psychological aspect of how men view women, period, or how men view femininity, period, as a weak dynamic. That we really don't often discuss within the Black community. Mm-hmm. And so I think when you couple that with the fact that most men who are coming into their sexuality, who don't want to be outed, who are, still in the closet, it's the safer way, less painful way to go. If I'm a top, then I don't have to deal with the pain. I don't have to deal with feeling like a bitch. And all of that. I don't have to prepare.
I can just show up.
And I'm not stressing my body out. I'm not a used and disposable whole.
That's true.
So all of those things I think go into why bottom shaming is so prevalent. In my opinion, how do we stop that? I think we stop that when we start having these conversations and checking each other in the community. When we hear somebody making a disparaging remark about someone who is a bottom.
Oh, he a big old bottom.
Right.
And without it.
Good.
You can't do it.
Because I like playing with them too.
Period. So I feel like at the end of the day, we really have to keep each other accountable to what we say as a community. And no, for me, nobody gets a pass. Like if you're saying some disparaging remarks about anybody,
right?
Especially people that are in communities that I belong to, I have to check you. Like I have to educate you. I have to let you know that that's not cool. And if you are my friend and I check you and you decide that you're gonna double down, then we can't be friends then.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you can't love me and then disrespect the communities that I belong to.
Agreed.
That's just not how I roll. But we are 4 minutes out from the end of our show. And before we end our show, I want to hear your top 2 safety tips or techniques that you guys can give to receptive partners to help them stay safe and to make sure that they are making the best healthy sexual decisions as a receptive partner. And Ty, let's start with you.
1, take your time. Do not feel like you need to rush for anybody. If he wants it that bad, he will come back to you when you feel comfortable.
Janet Jackson, let's do it.
That's number 1. Always take your time. Do not rush for anybody. 2, lots and lots of lube. Definitely use as much lube as you can so that you can make it as comfortable as possible for yourself. Can I do a 3rd one? Have those necessary conversations prior to sex. Do not get lost in the heat of the moment and think that you are meeting up with somebody that has all of your best interest at heart, and be open and upfront about the conversations that you are having so you can make sex enjoyable and less of that guilty feeling of, I wonder if I need to go tomorrow and get tested, or I wonder if I should tell him tomorrow he needs to go get tested. Goes both ways.
Yes, set your sexpectations.
Sexpectations.
For sure.
It's going to be named my album. Go ahead.
Ooh, I like it. Okay, for me, it would be definite... we didn't get to talk about this, but similar, Ty said it earlier, you don't have to like douche for a long time for you to be good to go. So number 1 is like, don't flood the Boochie.
Please don't.
Don't flood the Boochie because you will be there longer than you need to be.
Just saying. Daniel wants you to flood hers, but okay.
And number 2, breathe, girl.
Okay.
Breathe. Like, don't be holding your breath talking about, Like,
enjoy it, sis.
Yes, because you holding your breath, you don't know it, but you clenching everything in your body.
Hemorrhoid waiting to happen.
Okay, relax.
Been there.
Breathe.
What about you, Daniel?
My 2 tips for you are going to be number 1, take control and autonomy of your body. It is your body. It is your Boochie cat. If you are going to allow someone to enter that Boochie cat, then they need to know that they are entering on your terms, on your grounds, under your rules. They do not have to come in. They don't need to come in and take control of your body. If it hurts, stop. If you're uncomfortable with it, stop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. So
Don't
that's
do
number
it.
1. Have autonomy over your own body. And number 2 is if you need someone to talk to about Boochie cat safety, or if you need an HIV test, or if you want to get tested for STDs, or you just want to have open, honest, safe sexual conversations, give us a call at 323-329-9713, or you can email us at swabandchill@apla.org. We are here to assist you with any type of HIV prevention tools and techniques, sexual health and education techniques and tools and things of that nature. So if you just need someone to talk to because you don't know, we are here to help you. Outside of that, I want to thank you so much for watching. Remember, we are live every Tuesday at 4:30. Please tune in next week as Latin X will be here. I will be here. Carlos, Nigel, Roger will be here talking about some very interesting things in regards to partying and drugs within the community.
Spicy.
So we're going to have a really wonderful conversation surrounding that. So make sure you tune in next week. Outside of that, I want to say thank you to my co-hosts, Ty and Dwayne. You guys are awesome
So
as always. Kai,
We
will
love
see you in 2 weeks on the link.
Yes.
Hope you are feeling better. We love you. We love you. We love you. And outside of that, I hope you guys have a wonderful, fabulous day. Remember, you are marvelous and magnificent. But if you're going to be mean, do it in a room by yourself.
Ooh,
Bye.
I'm going to go buy some honey. Bye.
Bye.
Where do I...